Hello to you all, and welcome to Pyramid Energy. I already know who I'm speaking to today. I'm speaking to someone who maybe has or hasn't listened to many of my readings, but of late has a feeling that they seem to have missed the train, missed the boat. In this case, missed the chariot, okay? This is the sense that you've missed some kind of portal, that you haven't fulfilled enough of the criteria to pass. I'm confronted by a lot of feelings of defeat, a lot of feeling like tired, okay? Because what actually led me here was I was yawning so much, and I felt like there's just this really fatigued energy. And the sense of fatigue is actually coming from a lot of the same thoughts and the same ways of thinking over and over and over again taking place in your mind. It's sometimes hard to understand how this comes about. And I want to start with something actually way more motivating before I just come to the hard truth, okay? Because actually the words that were coming out of my mouth and I resisted, the words were hit the hard truth. It's the truth, okay? You are most welcome to not accept it as your truth, of course. This is just the truth that I have come to share today because I want to help you, okay? I want to lift your vibration. I want you to feel better. I want you to see things clearer, okay? Because you're not seeing them clearly. You're seeing them in a very distorted way. There's a lot of terminology that's coming through. I'm here to hit the hard truth, is how they're actually putting it forward to me. I didn't think I'd be so straightforward. I actually had anticipated coming through with a whole lot of disclaimers so that, to land gentler on you. But my understanding is that you've actually asked for this. That's the understanding that I have. You've actually asked for this because I've been reading on a certain thread, okay? And I definitely feel like we've kind of stopped the car at the petrol station, okay, the filling station, for all my American compadres, okay, at the filling station to kind of fill the tank, check, slight service, and a breather. I feel like we're here. And the reason I'm putting it to you this way is actually because we're on the same train, okay? We're on the same train. And without over identifying with each other, what I'm trying to say to you is we can start to believe with all this portal talk, okay? Not that it's been happening now, but when you are listening, let's say, to a reader and you sense a shift, it's coming through clearer, a shift in the path of the reader, okay? And just to bring this home, let's say me. It's not that the path has shifted. It's that the perspective is needing a shift because collective energy is collective energy. As readers, we just tend to read it off various frequencies, right? Based on our vibration. Often it can be clouded by a person's personal experience, but given that everything has more than one side, and I would have said two sides, but it's like more than one side and also like a unified side. I've been reading from a very unified side. And so when I speak of a lot of the things that are coming up, your perspective is excluding you from accepting some of these amazing things for yourself. I pulled a spread, it's a chakra spread, and it was starting to speak to me so much. It just needed me to reassure you, first and foremost, that you are not excluded from anything. You're not excluded from anything. These things apply, okay? If it doesn't resonate immediately, first of all, I get the sense it resonates, but with a yearning, not a, this is lost on me, none of it makes sense. Because then you would just click off and go listen to something else. Whereas here I'm sensing this resonates, but I feel like I'm missing something. That's who I'm speaking to. I feel like I'm missing something, like I've missed something, or I haven't achieved something, or I haven't, that's what it is. And so here we are. I can't show you the cards on the screen, or maybe I can. Please forgive me if I don't manage, okay? But actually, I'm not going to. I'm going to say that up front. I'm going to just do my best to show you what I'm looking at. Abort mission. I'm not doing that. I can't. It's distracting too much from the messages. What I sense in the lower chakras, which is like where your stability is, where you're creating, okay, where your creations are born, okay, gathered, born, birthed, your solar plexus. These are the denser parts of your chakras, okay. What we'd like to see in the chakras there is a flexibility, a stability, yes, but also a flexibility. Because with the Eight of Pentacles, this is telling me that you have a way of thinking, you have a way of doing stuff, you're programmed a certain way, and it's keeping your life in a certain rhythm, right? And I had to look into your relationship with change, because Earth is already quite a dense element. And what we're wanting is to be able to have flexibility in there, so that as the tide changes, as the winds change, number one, you can feel the change, you can react with the change, move with the flow, and not feel stuck. Because that's the feeling that I got. I felt like we're stuck mentally, we're stuck, we feel spiritually stuck, okay, spiritually imprisoned. And what this is, the way it's presenting itself to me, is your relationship with change, okay? I actually looked this up. What is your relationship with change? And they showed me the star. Your relationship with change is that it's in the process of healing, okay? So this is how you react to change, how you embrace change, all of that. So I'm speaking to someone who would regard themselves as rigid, okay? I can identify with that. I can definitely relate. You are rigid, okay? This is very helpful. When you start something, you can see it through. When you've been doing something a certain way and you know how to do it and you feel safe, you can carry on doing that thing. However, now we're actually wanting to embrace change and do things a different way, and embrace new ways of not just doing things, but thinking through things. So that as we take action and it feels like fresh action, new action, we don't feel like we don't know how to do, our body's not fitting, you don't actually know how to move and how to just be you in the new space. Okay? And they showed me that Four of Pentacles and the Magician. This is partly like clarifying the star in terms of your relationship with change. The Four of Pentacles came out in reverse. The Four of Pentacles came out in reverse, which is telling me that you are good at supporting the status quo. Okay? There is that sense of self-preservation. However, now all your manifestations are also in your purse, because you're maintaining the status quo through the same sort of way of thinking. And I'm going to get into the way of thinking, because I don't want you to, I'm not trying to paint you like you've got a rigid mind. That's not what I mean, because this all actually relates to your solar plexus energy. What I'm trying to show you with these cards is that you're holding your shifts back from yourself, because you're afraid of change, okay? You're afraid of change, and the reason you're afraid of change is these two cards that showed me here. Okay, the Temperance and the Two of Swords in reverse. And so you are trying to find your way through change without releasing the idea that you sometimes just move forward without surety of the outcome. Okay? So you don't like doing stuff if you don't know how it's going to turn out, number one. Number two, you don't want to risk doing it wrong. You're afraid of the disappointment of doing it wrong. You're also afraid of letting go of who you were, because you've created a lot of things. A lot of us do this. It's not you alone, okay? A lot of us do this. This is something I still work with. You've created reasons in your mind to help you to keep safe, okay? You've been running on this program to help you to stay safe because it's what you know. And so you're sort of in this routine of clinging onto familiarity, even when that familiarity is no longer satisfying. That familiarity is not, it's not warm. You're actually very bored with your familiarity. It's also very imprisoning because it's not allowing you to make the changes you want to make. You're stifled by this belief that, I also do get a sense, you do have a belief that other people have it a different way, that they receive their clarity in a different way. But this is actually solar plexus energy that we're dealing with. It's solar plexus energy that we're dealing with. I've got the 8 of Pentacles and the 2 of Pentacles, which is like, you know that you need to shift something, you know you need to change something, but you're afraid of what you'll lose if you change this thing, or you'll lose your way, or you'll lose this aspect, and what if this, so you're kind of doing this thing. You know, when people give you a choice, you can either go, you can choose this fist or this fist. But because this is the fist that you're holding on to already, you've got this one, it's got all this stuff, not satisfied with it, but you know what it's going to give you, kind of like that, okay? Even if that thing that you're doing, let's say you're not actually doing something, okay? This is what you know. This fist has opportunity, but you don't look at this as opportunity. You're looking at this as uncertainty. And so now you're sitting with Blair and not going to take a chance on uncertainty. And so your options are dismal, my darling. You need optimism. You need optimism, because if we consider that we are creating ourselves in the instant, we are creating our future, it stands, I don't know how I was supposed to say those words. I got dumped a bit in the middle of my sentence there. It makes sense to then assume that you will have the best outcome. This is not to assume that everything along the way is going to be smooth sailing. This is to say that whatever happens along the way, you're in for a positive outcome, okay? We can't say desired outcome because we don't know what the outcome is going to be. But we are on a path here. We are not in search of a destination, okay? We are in the pursuit of a feeling. We are in the pursuit of a feeling. If I were to break up all of my life into successes and failures, I'd struggle. I'd struggle because I'm not yet at a destination. I believe that the only real destination is death. It is death. We can look at death as like one major destination where the flesh dies, okay, and the soul passes. But death is also something we should really embrace, especially at a time like this. I'm going to lean in and actually share this. Death is something we embrace, where we basically accept death. Okay, you look at your 2 fists and you tell yourself, okay, I'm willing to lose both. I'm willing to lose both fists. I'm willing to be left with nothing. I don't want this fist. I don't want this fist. Admit it to yourself. You're done with this fist. You don't like it. Whether this is non-action or whatever it is, it's the options I'm looking at. I'm talking value, the things you've placed value in, the things you place importance on. You decide, I'm done with this fist. I'm willing to lose it. Because essentially you really are willing to lose it because you want it to change. And so you'd have to then tell yourself, and it's difficult to get these words out when you do this, but you'd actually have to tell yourself, I don't like this fist. This fist is empty for me, but I'm going to hang on to it. If you actually try to say those words, something happens in your mind and it sort of like clicks, and you realize that this is the fist that you can surely guarantee you can let go of this fist. Then you have this fist, okay? And now we're reckoning with the idea that this fist will be unsuccessful, okay? The only chance of this fist leading you to success is taking a chance on it. And you're taking a chance on half, because half is, please excuse my little fist diagram, but half is failure, as we speak of it, and half is success. So we need to be willing to fail, that we've chosen the wrong side of the fist. We need to be willing to do that. Okay, at the moment we don't have any of the two. Okay, we don't have this fist, and this one we need to take a choice to actually use the fist. So be willing to lose it all. I'm not talking about your money here. I'm not talking about your health. I'm talking about mindset. I'm talking about we're working in the mind. We're working in the mind around ideas that we cling to. And so this feeling that if this happens to me, I will lose what I think of myself. I will lose myself. I will feel lost. It's those types of mind questions I'm referring to. That the ones that we need to be willing to die. Those are the things that we release to die in order for something fresh to be visible to us. Because when all of these living things that we're not happy with are sitting at the surface, taking up all the space, chowing all the energy, there's a lot of things like the skin. You've got to exfoliate the skin, apparently. You've got to exfoliate the skin in order for new cells to grow. Okay? Otherwise, all of your moisturizers, all your products end up being absorbed by all of the dead skin that's sitting on the surface, and it's a waste of product. Okay, there are a lot of examples where you can apply this. A lot of examples. You basically want to create more efficiency by removing the dead crop, the dead cells, and then the new cells get air, they get moisture, they get food. Okay, so this is kind of energetically what's happening, is that everything you're putting in, all of your effort, your mental effort, your heart effort, your energy is all going into these things that are ready to be swiped off because you are actually done with them. Okay? I'm trying to just describe energetically what's happening here. And to help you through the thought process of the things you cling to, the fear, which fear is so valid. But when you realize that it's actually the fear of a mindset, not really the fear of an outcome, then you can be willing to allow failure to take place on the mindset level, because we have to be willing to allow failure to take place on the level of the mindset in order to get rid of the rigid, stagnant mindset that's no longer serving us. You'll feel like so much lighter. It happens in an instant when you let go of the thing that you think you're clinging to, or believe you're clinging to, or saving, or preserving. If you can get clear on what it is you're trying to preserve and keep safe, get clear on it. Even if you got to write this, get clear on what is it I'm trying to preserve with my non-movement. What do I stand to lose? Okay, you can consider what you have to what you stand to gain. But what is it I stand to lose? Once you realize that this thing you stand to lose is really value-based, it's not tangible. It can feel tangible until we engage this thought process in some proper dialogue, because often we sit with these things, they linger in our space. It's like a bedroom when you need to tidy it up. There's a whole lot of stuff sitting there. Someone's actually got to come in and remove the stuff and take it out the room. No one's going to just, because that's where it was last left. That's where it was last placed. Once you're presented with a decision, you can hear the voice that you got closer to sharing information with you about that decision and how to make it. You can also hear clearer the past way of thinking, because it will try to creep in. Guaranteed. It'll try to creep in, but then you'll recognize it as such because you've got so clear. So that time away is really necessary. Okay? And so this is also, I'm not saying quit listening to stuff that you listen to, but be very mindful that you are in a state of really trying to hear your own voice. Very important. What I wanted to say about distractions, and this came up early for me, was that I get the sense that you are a person who often feels pulled in various directions in your life. Okay, in your normal waking life, you have other responsibilities, other obligations. These places that you show up at, these conversations that you have, these realities that you operate through, they exist within a paradigm that this mindset of yours has been serving. And so it's very difficult when you're dealing with normal people, let's call it. When you're dealing with normal people daily, needing to make decisions, feeling like you need to show up a certain way, whatever. I'm asking you here to be mindful of this. Because what happens is that that's also, you can't always take a break from those types of places. It's really important to recognize that paradigm when you are in it. That's how we cope, you see. Cope, what a terrible word to use, but that's the word that came out. That's how we cope, okay? The world can sometimes feel really painful, but one of the dangers to mindset when we are operating in this kind of paradigm is that the decisions we make, the thought process, the behavior, everything needs to support how we're expected to show up in these places. And so it's very important to recognize yourself, to recognize your behavior, to recognize that your thought process is simply accommodating the paradigm, not consumed so much that by the paradigm that it becomes you. So I'm asking you for more mindfulness here, because that behavior that you need to be in at this point in time, the point is not to run. The point is to actually know how to live in your body wherever you are. And so it's about recognizing that this is not my thought process. However, this paradigm requires me to serve it in that way. Okay? In time, you're not even going to be able to do that. Okay, this is for now. This is for now. And what I mean by not even be able to do that, what I'm referring to is you're going to bridge the gap for yourself. You're going to have integrated to a point where either your system will totally reject trying to act like you believe and think the way this paradigm does, or you just won't find yourself there. I don't know how else to put it, okay? And it will apply differently to various people. This is about awareness. This is about awareness so that you understand why your life and your pace feels predominantly consumed by older stuff. Because I'm speaking to someone who knows all the wisdom. I'm speaking to someone who's got a deep, clear intuition. However, all of this stuff interrupts the work of your intuition. Your intuition needs to, after discernment comes integration. And I see you getting stuck with doubt. You get this information and you actually don't know what to do with it. It gives you a headache. As you receive this thing you meant to do, this next move, this detail, your mind actually can't handle it right now because there's so much going on. But I'm here to tell you that so much going on is literally like that dead skin I was referring to. It's not stuff you need. So maybe this is just a time of quiet. I think this video has mainly been about awareness because you haven't missed anything. When I actually don't believe this idea that we are on the front line. I must tell you, okay? I feel like I'm on the front line. I don't believe that it serves me to tell myself that I'm the first person to come across this type of experience. I believe there have been many, many, many before me. And perhaps in a former lifetime, I was here, okay? I don't believe this. I believe that, let's say, where we are now is at a specific point in our own personal evolution. That's all we can really look at. And And so let's say Gontse breaks through a certain point. Look, it's open. That means universe has actually allowed. We've come through. It's open. It's open. The portal doesn't open and close. I do believe that this is a fear mongering style that is used in this industry. Okay? I'm just going to say it straight. Listen to this now. Don't move off the screen until you finish listening to this now. Listen within 24 hours as if what's meant for you will pass you by. You know, I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. But could we clear that up? Because once you have decided that you are ready, you can walk through the door. You have the key. Gontse doesn't have your key. Almost said smang mang. It's an expression in South Africa, in Sotho, and it means whoever, you know, whatever their name is. Smang mang doesn't have your key. You have your key. You have your key. Don't let anyone tell you that you've missed anything, not even your own mind. Do not let your mind fool you. Okay? And so when I'm reading here, I really believe and feel I am speaking to everyone who resonates with my voice. Whether you see yourself in that position or not, it means that from a certain perspective, this is your opportunity. Okay? And often, perhaps a title might seem absolutely amazing, or whatever thumbnail I'd put at the time, so promising. Let's say, first part of the reading, good stuff. But I get to the real stuff. Okay, I get to the real stuff most of the time. If there's real stuff like that we need to grapple with, I get to it. Because this experience is not, I wanted to say immaculate, but I feel like it is. It does feel like heaven, especially when I'm inside this container. This experience is not one-sided. This experience is not totally perfect feeling. In order to feel this depth of joy and this peace, you have to be able to be willing to deal with the gunk, the yuck. And I'm not going to tell you that daily I'm not faced with some yuck. It lives here. Can I tell you the truth, at least about myself? My yuck lives there. I don't know how else to put it. It's there. I don't cling to it. It's a part of me. But I appreciate the ability to feel to that depth. I feel more. If that were to be removed, and all I was sitting on was this constant joy and buzz, I don't know how I'd feel, because I need to be able to feel myself. It's like when they say pinch yourself. Imagine you pinched yourself and there was absolutely no touch, no pain. It just felt like you just touched it. That's it. And you know, like they say you want to pinch yourself just to make sure you're alive. That's Aerosmith. But it's that. And so we learn to stop trying to look away at the pain, and we learn to stop believing that other people don't ever deal with feelings of shame and doubt. We all have it. However, the rest of us that seem to be moving along like, you know, the sun shines out my bum. The difference is that we don't look away from that stuff, and we don't believe that that stuff has to be gone for us to keep moving. And we don't believe that that stuff means we've still got a hell of a lot to heal. We do not give that stuff the power to tell us what we're going to do next. Our power does not sit in the doubt and the questioning and the shame, okay? Because asking for someone to completely eradicate shame and completely eradicate doubt is a weird concept if you think about it, because it's all rooted in memory, right? Like if you've had a whole life experience and you've reached a certain age, what are you supposed to do with all your memories? You literally have to have your mind cleaned, which means you also lose a lot of your lessons. And so it's part of your memory mentally. And so you learn to work with it there. You learn to no longer let it govern your life, okay, your path, your actions. But you know it's there, it's part of you. It's like a scar on your body. You know exactly how you got that scar. Does it mean it's still sore? No. It's just a part of your skin. Sometimes a reminder, if you look there, that you've lived. And so I'd love for you to embrace change. Some of us, I'll speak for myself. The reason I'm so comfortable with change now and uncertainty is because I was dropped in the ocean without a clue of what to do. Okay? And so I had to survive. But not everyone is thrown into this, and you do not need to have your life thrown up into complete upheaval physically for you to find these new ways of thinking. Because all of these opportunities are yours, they're there. I'm going to close this here. I hope this was helpful. It felt like it needed to be a real one-on-one. Sending you all so much love.